welcome back to another episode. And I'm so excited to continue to introduce some of the amazing speakers we have for TEDx Lake Mary on November 16th at the Ritz Theater in Sanford, Florida. I'm so thrilled to have my guest Sam with us today. Sam, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, this is a lot of fun. I'm very excited to take the TEDx stage, and everything for this cause. I'm just so super excited. And plus, it's been really a delight to get to know you and your family
Thank you.
and the other people who will be speaking on stage with me. It's the whole process has been. I mean, we're still early, but it's been fantastic. So I'm just
Oh,
excited.
well, I'm so happy to hear that. And I mean, you're no stranger to the stage, to the camera, to anything like this. So to still hear that is really touching for our family. So why don't we talk a little bit about your background and what you do?
So, so I'm an actress, and I did that for a very long time, and I stepped aside temporarily to home educate my kids, and so that just led me on a whole other path. So now I'm fairly missional. I really think that it's the best choice for every family. I don't make exceptions to home educate their children, and I think that the reason that we are so reluctant and hesitant is because we make tremendous assumptions about what homeschooling actually is, and they're wrong, which is why I can say sort of unequivocally everybody should. But so many people think that they can't. And then when you drill down and say, okay, what is it exactly that you think you can't do? They're like, well, I don't know. I don't know the first thing about it. I'm not even sure what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
So that's just become a little bit of a mission for me. I've written several books about home education. Most recently, I've been advocating for parents who were unfairly targeted by their school boards because they spoke at school board meetings against some of the stuff that was happening in the schools. And unfortunately, the school boards became retaliatory. Um, and in fact, some of the law enforcement got involved and stuff. And so these
Yeah.
people have kind of had their lives ruined. So I've been advocating on behalf of them
Mhm.
in Washington, D.C.
Wow, and that's awesome. And something I want to make sure that I'm touching on too, that you frame it as home education and not homeschooling. And you have a really great reason for that. And I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, so I call it home education because it's not school at home. And so homeschooling, so the first thing that we have to do is define our terms. Anybody who ever did public speech or debate understands that, but we no longer really understand that as a society because this is not taught in regular government schools. And
Hmm.
so I'm fairly precise with my words. I actually wrote a book about words. And so for me, words, it's a craft
Yeah.
to get the words correct. And so I call it home education or home learning because it smacks of homeschool, but it's not school.
Yeah.
It's still okay. Home education, it doesn't actually just happen at home either.
Right.
But I figured we'd swap out the school part and then people could still sort of associate it with, oh, you mean homeschooling. And I can say, well, there's a little bit of a difference and there's a lot of bit of a difference. So um,
No, I totally understand and I completely agree. When I was recently talking to my parents, and one of the kind of perks I have now that I'm no longer a teenager and I'm, out of quote unquote the college age as well, is that people stopped asking me the most random questions about homeschooling and like my experience. And I would always get the same three questions, and I was like, I don't know how to answer these anymore. I'm so sorry. But it was a great experience for me personally, and there was so much that I learned at home that a lot of my friends didn't learn, and sometimes there were things that they were learning in school that didn't fit what I was doing, so it didn't make sense for me to learn. And, I would not be able to do that if my parents weren't listening constantly to me and what I was looking to do. Like a big thing as I was really into baking. I loved cooking and baking as a kid. And I still do it to this day. Like I recently did my friend's wedding cake, and that's something that I would have never been able to do if they weren't there giving me the tools and the resources.
right. And if you had wasted so much time being distracted by the things that the school values that might not have any value to you. And that's what I try.
Absolutely.
That's one of the distinctions that I try to make to people is, people always ask me, well, what about calculus? Well, back in the day when I was educating my kids, I
Yeah.
was like all over calculus because I tutored calculus in college. So that was the wrong question to ask me. They thought they were going to stump me, right? And I was like, yeah, bring it. I love calculus. But more than that, like none of my kids learned calculus because it didn't serve them. And it
Yeah.
won't serve them. It certainly doesn't serve me. I mean, I love knowing it. I've forgotten a lot of it, but I loved having it, but it's not necessity. And there's a lot that happens in school that is unnecessary
Hmm.
and a distraction from what actually is necessary. So I don't know what you might be planning to do with your cake baking prowess now, but that's actually a pretty good skill set to have,
Thank
as
you.
opposed to like, I know calculus.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, no, it was great. And it's really just like that's another thing too, is realizing that it's a hobby and I had it started as a hobby and I'll probably just keep it as a hobby for my friends and my family. And I love the joy that it brings me. But that's just something that I was able to know and I was able to experiment a lot. Like I know the stuff I used to make when I was a kid did not really look great, but it felt fun. And now it feels a lot better because I know so many basics. I don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Mm.
I remember once I got a question and he was like, do you ever worry? He's like, don't you know all the periodic tables? I'm like, not off the top of my head, but I know them, obviously. And he's like, don't you feel like you're like when your friends talk about it, you're missing out? And I'm like, I have never had a conversation with my friends about the periodic table. We have never gone around the mall and been like, hey, what is this sign again? We have never done that. So I felt fine. But yeah,
What's the
so
ion for boron? What is that? Oh, is it a -1 or a -2? I can't remember.
yeah, that's what we talk about at the mall food court, actually. It's very
Right.
specifically as we pass by Sabara. Like that was the topic. But no, seriously, like it's so great to be able to have these conversations and have that experience that I hold dear. And it's something that I'm so excited to pass on to my kids as well, knowing what it brought me and my brother. I'd love to
So,
know, yeah,
so can we just say also that your parents are very involved
yeah,
in your growing up, right? So they were involved. And I think that that's an enormous distinction
yeah,
between children who go to school and fail to see their parents for the better part of, and I say the better part of every day, meaning not just time-wise, but actually the better hours of the day.
yeah.
And so it's not just like the different skills, because that's not what growing up is. Growing up is relationship, and they are forced into this environment that has sort of false relationships,
Hmm.
um, that may or may not serve them.
Hmm.
And so that was absolutely one of the benefits to you, right? Growing up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I knew without a shadow of doubt. Another thing I did was I was a competitive figure skater for my entire youth. So I was doing a lot of recitals, a lot of ice shows. I was starting to travel a lot for competitions. We'd go to other states. And I always knew without a shadow of doubt that my parents were going to be there in the stands. They were going to be there. They were going to drive me. If there was out of state, some of the kids, we all had to carpool because some parents couldn't make it with them. And my parents were just always there. They were like, hey, how can we help? How can we stand up? And everyone at the ice skating club knew my parents because of that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's doing life together, which is
mhm.
really what homeschooling should be, right? It's
Yes.
really it's the act of doing life together so that your children learn how to be an adult like you are,
Yeah.
and they also tend to hold you accountable.
Definitely. I know there's still a conversation to this day where I look back, I'm like, no, yeah, my parents were definitely right. I did learn that. They told me, and they're right. They're always right about
Oh,
those
I meant the
things.
other way.
Oh, and it happens both ways too. It happens
It does.
like now they're like, dang, you are right. Like you got that point. I'm like, well, it's because you taught me to have the skills that I'm able to do that. So
Right.
I definitely give them the credit for that.
Yes.
This is such a great topic, and I wish we could talk about this like for so much longer, but I do want to switch gears just a little bit to talk a little bit about TEDx. So obviously, like I said, you're no stranger to a stage, to a microphone, to cameras, but what about specifically a TEDx stage that was really calling to you?
Well, I had actually purposed to land a TEDx a couple years ago, actually, and I did a bunch of research on how best to go about it. And the reason is because it's an opportunity to reach a larger audience,
Hmm.
especially if you have a talk that really lands, which of course is the goal, right? Is to have a talk that really lands. And so I saw that as an opportunity to share an idea worth knowing, right? That's the whole point of TEDx is sharing ideas. And so it was just an amazing, I don't believe in coincidence, but we use that word, right? It's an
Right.
amazing coincidence that I was asked to speak. And by the way, like I was asked to speak like when they asked me to take the stage. Like, by the way, Sam, you're going to speak now. Thank you. And so I just went up and I spoke from my heart. And your dad saw it. You saw it. Obviously, you were there, but
Yeah.
your dad saw it and came up to me afterwards and said, "We're producing a TEDx," which is like so random because I had purposed to try to do
Yeah.
a TEDx, and I had like put together some things and then I put it on the back burner for a while. I took it out, I put it back,
Yeah.
and so when he said, and the deadline's in 2 weeks, I was like, well, I could probably hit the deadline at least just to see.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, here we are.
Hmm.
And I was saying to you, so people might not know this, but TEDx, the organization makes an effort to coach everybody so that they know that they're bringing to stage a message that's refined, that is insightful, that has value to impart to the audience, all of these things. And so there are certain coaches that are like approved, I guess. I'm not really sure how they do the whole thing, but it turns out that I had experienced the coach that you guys chose for your TEDx presentation
Hmm.
before. And so when
Yeah.
I found out, so I got through to the interview round, which is
Hmm.
like from 300 some odd down to 30.
Yeah.
I got through to the interview round, and there she was, and I'm like, oh dang, this is cool. Like, and then I made the cut. Yeah.
Yay. Well, we really loved, we're so excited to hear more about your talk. And I was on your interview actually. Not I wasn't on for everyone, but really wanted to be on for yours. And
Oh,
I really loved what you guys were talking about and how you were discussing. And I was like, I do see something there. And our coach felt the same way. And we feel very honored and blessed to have you on the stage. And it's just going to be such a great time. This is our first event with TEDx Lake Mary, and we're just so thrilled that everyone on our team and the speakers are just so collaborative and they're so helpful. And it makes our job as organizers so much easier because of that.
well, you've put together a really diverse group,
Hmm.
age-wise, and just the whole gamut. It's very interesting.
Thank
And I
you.
mean, I was shocked. You've got two kids that are under 18, which like totally
Yeah.
blew me away. And I have no doubt that they're totally going to bring the heat. In fact, I think it was you that said, be on your best behavior, like be on your guard, because these kids are going to run circles around the rest of you. And in fact, in one of the breakouts, so we do coaching, right?
Hmm.
Every week or every other week, we have a coaching session and we do breakouts on the coaching Zoom, right? It's a big Zoom call. And so I had a breakout with one of the young speakers. And so I had a chance to like pump her for information, like what is this that I'm looking at? A young woman who's already written a book and like, what? That's crazy. So that's exciting for me. It's exciting to meet the other speakers.
Hmm.
And then the last breakout session, when I entered the call, one of the speakers was there and she was already having a little bit of a discussion. And so I
Hmm.
listened, I'm like, oh gosh, I want to get to know her. And then she was in my breakout. So I got to get to know her a little bit. So I
Nice.
was having a blast
That's
meeting
amazing.
these people and understanding a little bit about what makes them tick. Because everybody who's speaking on a TEDx stage is exceedingly motivated to share something of value
Right.
that has probably, I think more than probably changed their lives tremendously. Like
Yeah.
not just, oh, I bought this new soda and it's really good. It's something that has
Right.
tremendously changed the way that they do life, and that can be very helpful for everybody else. And so I'm super excited.
Yeah, well, I can hear it, and that makes me feel so great about everything. And we really want to make sure, like we mentioned with the breakout rooms, that everyone, and that was something that I didn't feel when I had my TEDx event. One of my, I got to know the speakers at the event. I didn't really know them that well throughout the training process. And, I was like, I really want to make sure that our speakers know each other because this is a very daunting process sometimes. Sometimes you just want to email one of the speakers and be like, hey, isn't this hard? Hey, are you
You
little
know,
stuck on this?
you're right. You're absolutely right. What you've managed to cultivate so far, and we're still early into
We
this,
are.
but you've managed to cultivate this feeling of a team.
Mhm.
Like I know I'm speaking on my topic for me, for the audience. Like I know that when I'm on the stage, it's just me. But the idea that we are a team and we are
Yeah,
making a whole presentation and
exactly.
this is my section of it and that's your section of it and they have that section of it and I think that that is really beneficial because you do feel like I feel like everybody on that call is rooting for me. Like
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's the way I feel.
You at least have us. Yeah, you'll always have us, and you'll always have Tanya for sure.
No,
But
I think we're all rooting for each other. We want the
yes,
event to be super successful, and
yeah.
I want to speak next to the best speakers in the world. So of course I'm going to be rooting for them.
Definitely. And I think that's really special to have that with people on that you share a stage with. No matter if it's TEDx or
Amazing.
anything else, you've spoken on, and it's the same thing like if we kind of go back to acting too, is like having a cast and crew that gel well together just makes a better product at the end of the day that everyone's supporting each other on set because those can be hard too.
And it's a lot more fun.
Yes.
Like let's have fun while we're doing life. Like why not?
Exactly.
Let's enjoy ourselves. And so yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
look, I did a show once and the guy who was like the lead in the show, this is before I ever did Hercules, before I met my husband. This guy was such a jerk. And so they would go and call him from his camper 25 minutes before they needed him because he had trained them that he wasn't coming out for 25 minutes when they called him, which is like just the worst. It sets the tone for the show, like the whole thing. And so and the show was not successful. And then I go down and I shoot an episode of Hercules and I hear the director actually walked with Kevin at one point and said, it's amazing. They really like you. And Kevin's like, well, yeah, what do you mean? And he goes, oh no. Typically on a successful show, at a certain point, people are like, okay, we're done with the lead actor because he's such a jerk kind of thing. Because it goes to if you don't have a strong character, it goes to your head. And so you
Mm,
make trouble for people.
yeah.
At least that's what happens in Hollywood. I'm just saying. So we
No,
don't
I
have any
totally see it.
stars.
Uh-huh.
We don't have any stars in the TEDx group that we have. We don't have anybody who's like, well, my idea is the best.
Right.
Although mine kind of is the best. But anyway,
There you go. Definitely, definitely. No, it's important. And that's something, another thing of that's why we had our interviews as well, like over Zoom. You just want to see who works well with each other. And sometimes that's what curation ends up being is sometimes it's also how do you see the stage? How do we see all the topics lining up? How do we see the speaker personalities line up? That's a big part of curation that people don't realize when it comes to putting on an event, TEDx or otherwise. So we were really careful about that, and I feel very lucky with all of our speakers, and we're so excited. And Sam, I really appreciate the time that you've given me today. This has been so much fun. I really love all of your topics, so this was a real treat for me. So I appreciate the time.
well, I've been just having an amazing time. I have to say, we have one speaker who had in a sense had a brush with death, and he's speaking on something that goes along with that, a life lesson that he learned.
Hmm.
And it made me tear up. And I don't even know the story, but he's
Yeah.
like just sharing like the crux of it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to hear that talk.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get to sit. Do we get to sit in the audience before, or are we all backstage?
That's a logistic question. That's a for
Okay.
later, but we'll definitely talk more about it. But of
Well,
course,
we'll
we're
be
all going to be
listening whether we're
sitting.
in front or behind
Exactly.
the curtain. But
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. Thank you so much for
Of
doing this.
course.
This is fun.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. And for everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well. If you're interested in being in the audience on November 16th, you can go to TEDxLakeMary.com/tickets. Or if you're interested in being a partner or sponsor to TEDx Like Mary, you can also go to our website, TEDxLakeMary.com. Thanks. Talk soon.